Around 1000 AD, a Viking named Orm Storolfsson stood beneath a ship's mast weighing 650 kilograms, while 60 men walked away from under it one by one. When he was the only one left, he walked 3 steps. Then his spine collapsed under the weight, even though his body still had more to give. That record stood unmatched for over 1,000 years, until 2015. That is when Hafthor Bjornsson, also known as the Mountain, stepped under a mast weighing 650 kilograms at the world's strongest Viking competition in Norway and walked 5 steps. Orm never trained in a gym, never touched a barbell, and yet the body he built carried a load that the strongest man alive could not match for 1,000 years. He built that body not through the gym, but through 5 physical practices woven into the daily structure of Viking life. Practices that modern exercise science has since confirmed activate more total muscle than anything those barbells produce. This video covers the exact 5 practices that most people have never heard of. And each one targets a specific mechanism that modern gym culture has quietly removed from how men train. Subscribe and stay to the end. Because the 5th exercise targets the single most undertrained movement pattern in any conventional training program. And once you understand what Vikings were doing every single day, you will not be able to unsee what your current routine is missing. The first practice starts not with an exercise, but with a word. Because in Iceland, one word separated a man from everyone else. Full styrkur, meaning full strong. To earn it, you had to do one thing. Lift the Húsafell Stone, a 186 kilogram slab of irregular rock, from the ground. Hold it against your chest and carry it around a stone sheep pen without setting it down. The tradition runs through Viking Age Iceland, where lifting stones served as formal tests of warrior readiness across Scandinavia. 3 levels were established. The man who could only lift it from the ground was amlodi, lazybones. The man who could lift and stand was half styrkur, half strong. The man who carried it around the pen was full styrkur. That was the ceiling. The stone still exists. It sits 132 kilometers northeast of Reykjavik, exactly where it has always been. Modern strongmen travel to Iceland specifically to test themselves against it, because nothing in a conventional gym produces what it demands. Here is why. A barbell deadlift loads the body symmetrically, on a fixed path, with a predictable center of mass. The stabilizers disengage because the barbell does their job for them. The Húsafell Stone does none of this. Its shape is irregular. Its weight shifts as you move. Grip, forearms, lats, core, and posterior chain have to fire simultaneously just to stop it rolling off your body. There is no machine path. There is no stable arc. There is only the load and your body's ability to control it. Research on odd object lifting consistently shows higher total muscle activation than barbell equivalents, specifically in the stabilizer muscles of the core and posterior chain that conventional training leaves largely inactive. The stone does not cooperate. Every muscle the barbell switched off, the stone switches back on. In order to implement this practice, you do not need to travel to Iceland. A heavy sandbag held against the chest or a loaded backpack hugged to the body replicates the mechanism precisely. 3 sets of 30-meter carries, twice weekly. The Vikings used stones to build grip, posterior chain, and structural foundation. But the second exercise they practiced daily builds something entirely different, and modern research confirms it activates 86% of the muscles in the human body in a single movement. And it all starts with a ship. The Gokstad ship was discovered in a burial mound in Norway in 1880. Dating to the 9th century, it was built for 32 oarsmen. Each oar was approximately 5 meters long. Longships of this class required crews of 40 to 80 rowers, pulling for 6 to 8 continuous hours during raids and trade voyages, and then stepping off the boat and fighting. In 2007, a modern reconstruction of the Skulderlev, two longship, named the Sea Stallion from Glendalough, completed a journey of 1,000 kilometers from Roskilde in Denmark to Dublin, crewed by 65 people. The physical demands matched exactly what the sagas described. Hours of sustained full-body output before anything else happened. Think about the average training week for a moment. Bench press, overhead press, push-ups, dips. The front of the body receives constant attention. The muscles that hold the shoulders back, the mid-trapezius, rhomboids, rear deltoids, are an afterthought. Over years, posture collapses forward. Shoulders round, things tear. Vikings had none of this problem. They pulled for hours every day because the alternative was drowning. Rowing activates approximately 86% of the body's muscles per stroke. Back, lats, biceps, core, quadriceps, hamstrings, and glutes engage simultaneously. Not in sequence, not in isolation, but together on every single pull. That coordinated full-body recruitment is something no cable machine and no lat pull-down replicates at anything close to the same scale. 20 minutes on a rowing machine, 3 times a week, replicates the stroke pattern directly. The back and core it builds in that time is the kind most training programs spend years chasing and never fully find. Rowing built endurance and volume. But the third exercise built raw structural strength, the kind that stood unmatched for over 1,000 years. As mentioned before, Orm Storolfsson stood in Norway while 60 men walked away from a ship's mast one by one. The mast belonged to the Ormrin Langi, the Long Serpent, the largest warship in the Norse fleet, approximately 45 meters long. The mast weighed close to 650 kilograms. The Earl hosting the gathering wanted to see how many men it required to carry it, and in the end, Orm was the only one left. What built Orm's body for that moment was not the mast itself. It was a lifetime of loaded carries, the daily physical demand of Viking life, documented through portage routes, shipbuilding records, and saga accounts across the Norse world. The Varangian trade route, recorded by Byzantine and Arab sources, required Vikings to physically carry their boats overland across multiple land bridges. The load was not a workout, it was the job. Loaded carries produce the highest systemic muscle recruitment of any training exercise. Every stabilizer in the spine fires to maintain position under axial load. Traps, upper back, glutes, hamstrings, and core engage simultaneously and sustain that engagement for the entire duration. Research consistently shows greater posterior chain activation from loaded carries than from squat equivalents, with the addition of grip and upper trap engagement that conventional exercises do not touch. So here is how to implement it today. Farmers carries with heavy dumbbells or kettlebells, 30 to 60 meters per set, 2 to 3 times per week. That is the implementation. That is what Orm was building every time he moved a load across Viking terrain. The carry trained the body to hold a fixed load, but holding is only half of what combat demands. The fourth practice trained the other half, the ability to generate force against something that fights back. And that distinction between a fixed load and a reactive one is the difference between the kind of strong that works in a gym and the kind that works when it actually matters. And it is called the Glíma. It has been practiced continuously since the Norse settlers arrived in the 9th century. The Jonsbok Law Book, written in 1325, documents it as an established feature of Norse life. That means it was already ancient enough by the 14th century to appear in formal legal records. It was demonstrated at the 1912 Summer Olympics. The annual championship belt is named the Belt of Greta, after Greta Asmundarsson, the legendary strongman of the Grettis saga, documented in Norse sources as one of the physically most capable men in Icelandic history. This is not a fringe tradition. It is the oldest continuously practiced combat sport in the world. And here is what it does that the gym cannot. When you lift a barbell, the load is fixed. The path is predictable. Your nervous system learns exactly what force is needed and exactly when. Over time, it becomes efficient, which means it stops recruiting every available muscle fiber because it does not need all of them. The body adapts to the specific demand and nothing more. When you wrestle a human being, nothing is predictable. Your opponent shifts weight without warning. Their resistance changes direction, mid-movement. Your nervous system cannot afford to leave anything in reserve. It fires everything available, because at any moment everything available might be needed. Research on grappling sports consistently shows superior functional strength development compared to machine-based training, specifically because unpredictable resistance forces, maximum motor unit recruitment that fixed-path exercises never produce. One session of Glíma, wrestling, or any grappling practice weekly replicates the mechanism. 2 sessions, and the adaptation becomes measurable within months. Wrestling trained the body to react to resistance it could not predict. But the 5th practice was quieter than any of this. It was so embedded in the daily life of every Viking that nobody would have called it training at all. And yet, the movement it demands is the one movement that your current training program, whatever it looks like, almost certainly does not contain. Not because it is hard to program, because it has been quietly removed from how modern men train, one machine at a time. You see, every Viking settlement required Viking wood. For ships, for buildings, for fires, for weapons. The axe was not a weapon first, it was a tool, swung daily by every man in Norse society from boyhood to death. And the movement it demanded, a full rotational swing from hip to overhead, is the one movement pattern that virtually every modern training program does not train at all. Look at any standard gym week: bench press, squats, deadlifts, overhead press, pull-ups. Every single one of these movements operates in the sagittal plane, forward and backward. The body moves forward and backward. The resistance moves forward and backward. The muscles that rotate the torso load the obliques through their full range and drive power through the transverse plane. The plane of every swing, every throw, every combat strike are never directly trained. Vikings trained it every day, as the most fundamental physical task in their existence. Ask yourself this: when was the last time your training required your entire body to rotate under load? Because if the answer is never, something is missing. The overhead chopping pattern loads the lats and obliques through their lengthened position. The specific loading angle that research consistently shows produces superior muscle growth compared to shortened range training. Some studies report 50% greater hypertrophy from lengthened position loading. The rotational drive from the hips through the core and out through the arms also builds the posterior chain in a way that no sagittal plane exercise reaches. Medicine ball slams, cable wood chops, and kettlebell swings all replicate the rotational chain. Try 3 sets of 12 to 15 repetitions, twice per week. If you ever have access to an axe and a log, that is the original version. Nothing else comes quite as close. Now, let us return to the mast. Orm Storolfsson did not train for that moment. He walked into it because Viking life had already built him for it. He was not exceptional. He was the product of conditions. 5 movement patterns, 5 documented Viking practices, 5 biological mechanisms that modern exercise science confirms produce more total muscle recruitment than the isolation exercises that replaced them. The gym did not replace these exercises because science showed something better. It replaced them because machines are easier to manufacture and easier to sell. Orm Storolfsson's record stood for over 1,000 years, and the biology that built him has not changed since the 9th century. The Viking way exists to recover exactly this. If this changed how you train, you already know what to do.